We're going to finish up this shed we've been working on for the last couple of segments. Brad's got the blocking all nailed in. I got a bad hair day going on, but we're going to go ahead and finish her up anyway. If you happen to be building one of these SBS sheds where everything's pre-cut, be sure to follow the instructions, because if you don't put the siding on before the roofing, you can't nail part of that siding on. Here's what I'm talking about. If you've got your roof sheeting on and your fascia on, you can't nail into the top of this piece of siding. And if you've designed your own shed, you're going to have to follow your own instructions. Here's one other thing you're going to have to watch out for. You have to work from the direction you pulled layout. If you don't, you're not going to have any backing behind that. So we're going to have to take this sheet and work from the back forward. So we'll just slide it right back. We're going to go ahead and tack this in one spot. And one thing you want to watch out for when you're doing finish work is if you've got a hammer with some fresh cross hatching on it, like a new hammer, you don't want to use that. That's going to tear up your siding. I have an older hammer that I've taken most of the cross hatching off. It's pretty smooth and it works really well. If you'll notice, this sheet isn't quite straight, but where we're going to tack it, it's perfectly flush. This is where we want it. So we're just going to put a tack in there, and I mean a tack. Don't drive it in all the way. So we'll get that set. Then we'll lift that sheet up into place and it'll square it all up nicely. Or you could have somebody down on the other end jacking it up if you've got a helper. Be sure to just tack it. We want to be able to move this sheet, and this is nice and flush. If you've got a helper, somebody down there who can jack that sheet up, let's give us a lift, Brad, and get that right up in place. You can see that it straightens up really nice. And we'll go ahead and use this sheet to square up the whole wall here. And what that means is it has to be flush here, here, and all the way across the bottom. Well, we're all tacked in place, and I can't stress it enough. You just want to tack that. You may have to move this when you get your other piece in line. So let's go ahead and get that sheet on, and then we'll know if we can drive those home. I'm just going to use this nail right here to pull on the edge of this, or push that plywood down, just so we can split the difference on our frame here on the base, and then that makes this nice and even with this stud on the truss. Now we can go ahead and start nailing that off. One other thing you want to keep in mind is when you're putting your sheeting on, make sure that where it's visible, that's the bottom here, that it's nice and flush. At the top, you're not going to see that. If it's off a little bit, nobody will ever notice. This is where you want it pretty. Well, we started out flush on the other end. If this side doesn't come out perfectly flush, it's not a big deal. They may have cut it on a different truss. As long as this edge of your sheeting is parallel with that truss, it doesn't matter. As long as that's nice and straight, you get a trim board that covers it up. It'll look great. Well, the back side's all done and nailed down. Now we're tacking the front side on. And remember, we just want to tack that until all the pieces are in place. Now here's a perfect example of why you just want to tack. This piece here, this has to fit right between the two end pieces, and we may have to move those to get this in there. Well, it looks like we got plenty of tacks in there. It holds it all in nice. It all fits great. We can go ahead and nail this on. Next segment, I think we'll go ahead and take care of the roof sheeting and the shingles.